True heroes tend to be humble, but we've managed to coax them into the spotlight. If you need a quick hit of faith in humanity, come on in and get cozy because hope lives here with Helaina Hovitz Regal.
This is Helaina Hovitz Regal, shining a spotlight on people living with purpose who might even help you find yours. Today I'm speaking with Leah Rose Tangren, who's president of Friends with Paws Dog Rescue that operates out in Oklahoma and transports dogs here to the East Coast, where they can live comfortably in foster homes while awaiting adoption. Leah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Helaina.
So tell me, where are you calling from right now?
My car in my driveway.
What are you doing out there?
So just in order to avoid any kind of, barking and stop and be nice to each other and, just the things that go along with my daily life, I figured it'd be best if we were in a quieter place. So my car where there are no dogs or distractions, really.
Okay. At first I thought you were talking about the kids, but I could see now that makes more sense for dogs. How many dogs do you have right now in your care?
That's a really great question that people ask me a lot, and generally my answer is, that's a really great question.
Noted. So how long have you been president of the rescue?
So about 8 years.
Wow. And it sounds like it's hard, but probably sometimes hilarious work. Like, tell me what your day-to-day is like and what it's like to actually run a dog rescue. And for those who might not know necessarily the difference between a dog rescue and fostering dogs and an animal shelter, kind of what the nuance is there and how you guys go on the day-to-day.
So at this point, we have a lot of volunteers, and all the volunteers have very important roles. And when I think back to 10 years ago, I had 0 volunteers, and I was doing all of these roles.
So what are the kind of roles within the rescue, and what do you guys do? Like, what are the logistics involved with saving a dog's life?
Great. So we have, intake coordinators, and they are people who get notification about a dog that needs a placement or is in touch with some local rural rescues here in Oklahoma, and mainly like small shelters that have a population in the town of like 1,000 or less. And because those people tend to not have any assistance from larger organizations within Oklahoma, because there are hundreds of animal rescues in Oklahoma, and none of them do quite what we do. So someone will get the notification of a dog, and it's a dog that would be good for our program, or just a dog that spoke to them that they feel like we need to advocate for and rehab, rescue and place and find a good place for them. And then after they pull the dog, we vet the dog, we get them all of the adequate medical needs that they need met. Sometimes we have some special cases that end up costing the rescue a lot of money, so we do fundraisers to kind of supplement that cost. And then we have an adoption team, and they have volunteers that list the dogs for adoption with information, pictures on the internet and across the World Wide Web, if you will. And then we receive applications. The adoption team receives the applications and starts to process them, meaning calling the references, talking to the potential adopter, finding out their needs, their wants, their hopes and dreams, and what we can do to help fulfill them. And then we have a transport team who transports the dogs to the Northeast, and they meet at Astoria Park on a Saturday or Sunday, and the adopters come and fosters come, and everyone lives happily ever after.
It's a lot. And how many dogs would you say on average, like per year, that you guys are rescuing and rehoming?
I believe 200 to 300.
Wow. So, for me, I've always been a huge animal lover, as you know. And for me, it's always been hard to even expose myself to, the world of dogs in shelters and dogs needing adoption, because all I saw was the kind of the downside about how sad it was that there were so many, like an unfathomable number of dogs that need rescuing and adopting and the circumstances they're in. And then slowly as my perspective began to shift, right when I started to really be in recovery and start to see things differently, my attention was drawn toward all these dogs that do get a second chance and do get to have a happy life. And that's the thing that we we should focus on, is people like you who are volunteer their time, who literally almost their lives become consumed with just helping these dogs who can't help themselves. They really rely on human kindness. And so that kind of brings me to my next question, which is, what is it that makes you happy about it? It sounds like it's exhausting. It's a lot. It's chaotic, but no matter how much work and chaos it is, there's something about it that makes you happy and keeps you drawn to it. I'm curious about what that is, or what those things are.
So that's a great question. Back when I was doing everything, what kept me going was knowing how much of a huge impact I was making, because by fostering every single dog that came through, my guesstimate numbers are I've fostered over 1,000 dogs in the lifetime of fostering, which when I say out loud sounds insane. But I think it's true, because when I've really tried to count, I'm like, yeah, it's got to be like 1,000, because I can't even remember all of the dogs. But at this point, having an amazing network of perfect, amazing, wonderful volunteers who all have their part to play to help us be successful, I'm definitely less hands-on than I used to be. So I make a point to foster several dogs a year, not as many as I used to, but I have a husband now, so he gives me boundaries, which I'm also grateful for, but not grateful for at the same time. And so what keeps me going is I like to talk to my own adopters. So the people that are interested in adopting my dogs that I've taken care of for however long, I love the relationship that rescuing and placing dogs creates. I have people who've adopted dogs from me 8 years ago, and they're reaching out again, being like, hey, my dog's getting old, I want to get another one, and I only trust you. And to me, that is the biggest compliment, having that relationship with that new adopter, where they send me Christmas cards and random text messages throughout the year of like, hey, we're thinking about you, Mama Leah. And it's nice that that we created such a bond between the adopter and myself. And so that's really what keeps me going, is knowing that while I can't save them all, while it is a sad state of affairs that we have with too many overpopulation and people not spaying and neutering and not being aware of, the big picture of things, and we can't save them all. It's just not possible. But I can make a difference to that one, and I can, do my part and do what I can to help the ones in my care.
So what's I imagine that with over 1,000 dogs, there are a few that have probably left quite an impression on you. Have you had any especially kind of quirky, funny dog foster moments that you'll always remember because they were just such cutie-duty pieces of work?
I mean, I will have countless of them. When I used to work at the Oklahoma City Animal Shelter for about a little under 2 years, where they saw 35,000 animals a year. So think of that number, and so almost 65. Math is hard. Almost 70,000 animals I saw go through the doors. If you were a hot mess and probably going to die, then I wanted to try to save you. And it's just kind of a theme throughout my life, truthfully. So I would take, if we had one in particular, is this little, we called them pig puppies because they look like little pigs, but they were little pit bull puppies that were surrendered because they had parvo or because they were sick or just not thriving. And they'd be 4 to 5 weeks old, super, super young. And it seemed like they were dropped off by themselves. So you looked at them and you're like, where's the rest of your litter? Because I know that you weren't the only dog that came out. So the people would only surrender one and probably say like, oh, I found it. And it's like, yeah, you found a random stray 4-week-old puppy. And so I would take it home, and this one her temperature was like 92, and a normal dog temperature is like 2 degrees higher than us. So she was super, super cold. She was barely even moving. And so I was like, she surely isn't going to make it. I kept her with like some warm bottles and we call them rice socks. We take rice, throw them in a sock, throw it in the microwave, kind of like a little heating pad. And left her in a little area, tried to like feed her sugar water for like hours. I just kind of like doted over her and stared at her like, are you alive? What are you going to do? Are you alive? And then that night she like perked up a little bit and ate some wet food. And I was like, here we go. Maybe she won't die. And then like within 2 days, she was like a normal puppy. And since I worked at the shelter, I brought her to work with me every day. She, needed to be fed frequently. So I got to bring her to work and hang out in my office. And so, everyone that worked at the shelter got to come and see her. And then she, grew up to be an awkward puppy. And then, it's hard to find, how do you find a perfect home for like the perfect little puppy? But they always come.
Yeah.
Kind of like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And if you have the perfect puppy, the perfect adopter will come. You just have to wait for it.
And even if they're not perfect to begin with, they're perfect to someone, and especially when someone else like you gives them a chance to grow and be perfect. They're perfect to someone at some point,
I probably fostered like 5 what I called pig puppies, and each one of them was perfect in their own way. And each one of them got their own adopter I couldn't have been more grateful for, because when you pour your heart and soul into an animal, because that's literally what you do with some of these dogs. I mean, how do you keep your heart and soul safe? You have to give it to someone that you trust.
Yeah, that I was actually just going to ask, it feels like, for dog people out there, like we all love our dogs so much like they're children. And I think for some people, the idea, when we say foster, I'm sure that we've got a mostly animal-loving crowd listening, but in case folks don't know, because I didn't know until I met you several years ago what fostering a dog actually is. You temporarily house that dog, and you love the dog, and you take care of the dog, and you bond with the dog as if you're going to be with the little guy or girl forever. And then they go to another home and you watch them go away, potentially forever. Maybe you'll get pictures, maybe you won't, right? But it seems like it takes a really selfless and strong person to love a dog like that and then watch it go somewhere else forever. Like, how do you know in case there's folks out there who are listening and wondering if they're cut out for it, like whether or not it's something that'll bring them more happiness or just completely devastate them?
If you were in a situation where you couldn't keep your dog anymore because circumstances beyond your control, you would want to know that dog's going somewhere where they can be cared for and then move on to their next place. So if you could provide that for a dog, wouldn't that bring you just innate joy just doing it?
Yeah.
Even with the heartache, because it doesn't hurt so much when you know that they're going to the right place.
Yeah, just to wrap up, it's probably time for the full disclosure that that's kind of exactly how I ended up with Wiley, and anyone who remotely or vaguely knows who I am knows who Wiley is, who's the star of his own Instagram and gets way more likes on anything I post on Facebook than anything remotely to do with me or people trying to save the world or any trivial stuff like that. Anything with Wiley is a hit. And I was actually looking to adopt when you and I started talking, and you sent me a picture of Wiley, and you were like, this is really rare, but we have a return, and they're like really heartbroken about it. But, would you consider fostering him? They got to get him out of the house. And, what did I say? I was like, this is his 4th home. Yeah, we'll take him. And like, without even meeting him, short of him absolutely hating us, like no matter what this dog does, like he's not going anywhere ever again. And now, he has his own apartment. He has his own chef, which is me. He has a king size bed that he allows my husband and I to share. And, he has it pretty good over here. So, and we just think, we see all the cute pictures on Instagram, but what people don't see is where Wiley was when you guys found him out in Oklahoma, and being transported across the country and being in a foster home and all the work that goes into, the donations. And Nina, who's one of your volunteers, who spends her weekends and her nights driving around in traffic throughout New York City to get donations. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And it's such a testament to the human spirit that you guys and all of the, rescuers and volunteers and folks who donate and shelter workers, they all rally around these dogs and say, like, your life matters this much, and we're going to save it. And I personally thank you for that, because it's just, it's miracle work to me. So
it truly is my pleasure. Like I said, I get so much joy out of it. So thank you for acknowledging.
Yeah. And so tell people who want to learn more about Friends with Four Paws how they can find you on your website, Adopt a Pet, how they can get involved if they want to help, wherever they are and where they're listening.
Yeah. So Friends with Four Paws, like Helaina has said, we are based in Oklahoma, but we have a big foster base in New York and New Jersey. You can find us on the internet at friendswithfourpaws.org. That's all spelled out. We have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter. I believe the handles on those is all FWFP Rescue. But if you just type in Friends with Four Paws, you will find us. And then feel free to reach out to us anyway, either email or Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger, however, send a courier pigeon.
But you might adopt that and foster that pigeon too, and make sure that it's being treated with fair working conditions before you send it back.
That's pretty much how that would work too.
And I have to say, you guys have one of the best Twitter accounts on the entire internet.
Yeah, humble brag, totally.
Oh, that's right. I run the Twitter.
Exactly.
Momentary memory lapse. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Leah.
Thank you.
This is Helaina Hovitz Regal, shining a spotlight on people living with purpose. I hope you got your fix here today. But if you need more positive vibes, head to HelainaHovitz.com. Find me on Facebook or Twitter. And of course, I also wrote a book. In the words of Harvey Milk, you can't live on hope alone, but without it, life is not worth living, and you gotta give them hope.